have not been to Minnesota in probably 20 years. Bring gas.
Welcome to Flagrant Howls, a Minnesota Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.
Right, welcome in after a very disheartening, disappointing performance by the Wolves, the shooting, the turnovers, all of that. Game one loss to OKC. In fact, it calls for a pie chart. Not a pie chart of praise, of course, ladies and gentlemen, but a pie chart of blame, which has been assembled by our guy, the chef, Declan Goff. But before we do that, I do want to tell you about my friends at MSP Plumbing, Heating, and most importantly right now, say it with me, air, because you know what? Yeah, it's been cold the last couple of days. I get that. But last week it was in the 80s, and it was probably the first time that you turned on your AC, and there's a fighting chance that it sort of didn't work efficiently, right? Well, if that's the case, you have a reprieve, because right now I want you to make sure that it is working, that it's fine, and MSP can do exactly that. Call MSP.com. or give them a call, 651-615-4292. MSP wants to make sure that your house is comfortable. In winter, that means the furnace. In summer, that means the AC. So again, 651-615-4292. Call MSP.com, because I'm going to tell you right now, firsthand experience, they do fantastic work. You will be glad that you made that call or checked them out on their website. Declan?
All right.
How's the pie?
The pie is pretty simple. This is we do not need to complicate this pie chart of blame.
So the math.
Thought about this.
Well, wait. Was this because you didn't want to take on the math equation, or because the game was just such a stinker?
I would say a little bit of both.
Okay.
Because what happened was, I wanted to give equal blame to Dante, Naz, and Na, but that would have required thirds, 33.33%.
Yeah.
And I'm not dealing with that, so you will see how I fixed that math problem. You'll probably understand what I did. Okay. It's I'm not trying to completely then ruin the future of this pie chart, but both math and both a stinker. But like most pie charts, Judd, we will start at the bottom and we will work our way up here.
How we do it?
Okay. First chunk of pie. I will actually say this is probably the most controversial first chunk of the pie.
Okay.
10% on the first piece of this pie chart of blame. 10% to the Wolves superstar Anthony Edwards. He deserves blame for this loss. He did not have a good game. He did suffer an ankle injury, which probably limited his effectiveness. But regardless, he does get a piece of pie here. He put up just 13 shots. He was a minus 23. He had 18 points. He did grab some boards. Wasn't able to dish out assists, wasn't able to be the star, didn't match that star power that SGA had. I think Stephen A basically put a lot of blame on him in classic fashion today on First Take.
Because he likes him.
Yeah, he does. And if someone has more issue with Anthony Edwards' performance, wanting this to be a higher number, I certainly wouldn't fight you on that. He does get a chunk of pie here, but it's 10%.
Do we statistically, because we keep track of everything now, which is great, do we have a percentage of passes made that became missed shots by him?
I mean, we might. I don't know how to look that up right now. Yeah, because I'll do that right now.
Because my thing is, the Wolves were so bad from the field. But yes, I think 10% is fair based on 13 shots. Now, OKC was taking shots away from him. I understand that, and they weren't allowing him to shoot, much like they actually cracked down on Julius Randle in the second half. So, and make no mistake, the Thunder's defense is great. Like, they are really good. Do they foul? Probably. Do they get away with it? Probably. Good for them. But I think, you know what? I think 10%, incredibly fair. Might be higher, but I wouldn't put it a ton above that. The last thing I'll say on Ant is I would love to know, because it sort of gets ignored because he always comes back. I would love to know what's wrong with that foot and or ankle. Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
This is a reoccurring thing. Something's up. Like, he's not miraculously recovering. If I'm not mistaken, it's usually the same foot, I believe. So I would love to know what we're dealing with here. But we don't know, and so just from a starting point, I think 10% is just about right. Might have been a little bit more, But I have a feeling you saved some chunks, bigger chunks for guys that got in the Declan crosshairs.
Yeah, I mean, those ankles are made of rubber. You know, he seems to bounce back from these weird ankle turns more than anyone else can. And Richard Jefferson, oh well, you're 23. You know, you can bleed and you'll still be okay. Oh God, I can't. That was a brutal day on commentary. There's shockingly no pie chart of blame in the commentary department, despite what Kyle brought up yesterday and what a lot of fans were saying.
Once you're done with this, we could definitely talk about the telecast, because there were some things beyond the commentary that bugged me. But anyway, keep going.
All right, so second chunk of pie, 20% to Chris Finch.
Yep.
You know, this is now the second time in this playoff series the Wolves had a lengthy absence, right? They were rested. They were ready to go. I know that they were waiting on Game 7, and you're preparing for two different teams, so it's not completely black and white. But this is now the second time in the start of series that your team didn't show up at all. I mean, where were you? And the Thunder are really good. They're better than the Warriors, but both times here, Chris Finch has not had his team, which is supposedly more rested, ready to come out and punch in like at all. They've been punched down in games 1 against the Warriors and the Thunder. Taking out Rudy, I didn't love that. I know there was foul trouble. He then finally pulls the Jalen Clark level because we gotta do something there. I thought Chris Finch did not have a great game. He's not certainly the biggest reason why they lost this game. I think he deserves more blame than what Anthony Edwards was able to do, though. So he does get a chunk of pie, and it's 20%.
You know what's funny is they had 5 days off between the Lakers and the Warriors, and then 5 days off between the Warriors and the Thunder. And in both cases, the Wolves didn't look prepared, which is disappointing. Now, I guess the good news is you could say, well, they looked terrible against Golden State in Game 1 and won. Now, Steph Curry did get hurt in Game 1. Shai is not hurt. That's a big difference between those two. But, you know what? I think that's fair. And so he took Gobert out early because he got 2 very quick fouls.
Yep.
Then I believe Gobert did not play in the fourth quarter because Finch was trying to get points going small. But you also can argue that you have to stop OKC from scoring. And with Gobert off the floor, that becomes a bigger problem. So definitely not his best night. Definitely odd that in both the last 2 Game 1s, the Wolves have just looked unprepared to play.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things in both games that just came down to what's going on here. And I know there's rust, but I'm sorry, both Game 1s were terrible. So yes, I think 20% is perfect.
And let it be known, like he was a better coach than JJ Redick. I thought he did a better job than him. And Redick was supposed to be this tactical mastermind, and he probably still is. He did very good against him. He beat Steve Kerr, who's probably the best active coach in the NBA in 5 games. Chris Finch has honestly had the coaching advantage in the last two series against the Warriors and the Lakers. And yesterday I thought was kind of a dud, man. I thought it was kind of an absolute dud to lay in. So he deserves blame.
Yeah, I also think, though, back to that point, I also think that this series is far from done. Like, I don't think because now the national pundits are like, this might go 5 games. Wolves are toast. Wolves are done. I think there's going to be a response. There better be, and I think that there is going to be on Thursday. The fact that the Wolves are, for the most part, well coached leads me to believe that you're going to get a punch back. So I don't, just to be clear from my end, I'm not saying, well, now it's a 4-game sweep or a 5-game. I think this thing is still going to be a longer series.
Absolutely. Okay, so we gave 10% to Ant. We gave 20% to Chris Finch. And instead of figuring out equal ways to give 33 and a 3 and then figuring out the point, I didn't want to do that. So here's what we're going to do. The top chunk of pie, 70% to Dante, Naz, and Na. We're going to give 70% of the blame to these 3 guys. Naz Reid, 0 for 7 from three-point land, a -21. Dante DiVincenzo, 3 for 14 from the field, made 3 of 12 three-point opportunities, was -20. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, 3 of 11 from the field, 2 of 9 from behind the arc, a -14. These 3 guys shipwrecked you, man. They absolutely shipwrecked your chance of trying to win this game. You can look at Ant and say your superstar has to show up. You can also point at Chris Finch and say, you tactically, you could have done some things a little bit different. Their 3 bench guys did not show up at all. And they were liabilities shooting the basketball. They were liabilities on the other end. They couldn't keep up with the Thunder. It should come as no surprise that these 3 dudes get the largest chunk of pie and probably face the most scrutiny after game 1. Yes, they're not the face of the team. They're not the superstar. They're not the head coach. But they are part of the bench rotation here that is going to play 20 to 30 minutes a night. And all 3 of these dudes were horrendous. They were awful. So that's why this pie chart was pretty simple for me. Math-wise, I just decided we're going to give them 70% all in one big slice. Each of you takes one big slice of pie in Naz Reid, Dante DiVincenzo, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. They get 70% and the last big chunk of this pie.
Yeah, it was brutal. It was absolutely terrible. And Naz, like Naz did say, they were open looks. I couldn't get them to fall. He tried to say, and he's not wrong, it happens. It's a heck of a time for it to happen because it sort of leaves a sour defining taste for how the series is going to start. But yeah, I think it's very fair. I mean, those are 3 guys that you count on. Naz is, as I think Kyle talked about, he's not wrong about this one, is essentially an extension of a starter. Like, you have to get more there. So, yep, I think that's fair. I could also throw in a small chunk for Mike Conley as well. 2 of 8 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3, 7 points. I'm not saying Mike's going to give you a ton, but I mean, Mike is the type of guy in this series, especially, who you desperately need to play well, because if he's playing well, he's the guy who handles the basketball. Like, the thing that's going to bite these guys in the butt as well, Dex, is when you look at this, and it happened last night, and it has to be fixed, the turnovers. And, who is your secondary ball handler who you trust against a team that swarms you? And so Conley could definitely get a small chunk, but yes, I am with you. The bench, those 3 bench guys in particular, have to give you more. They have to. Dante needs to have Dante does a lot of good small things, but we saw it last night. He has to score the basketball, as they say. Naz, I think it's going to come back. I mean, I think he's going to be fine now. But yeah, I think that's incredibly fair, and I also think that the 20% to Chris Finch is very fair.
I have a question for you on those 3 bench guys here in just a sec, but before I do that here on write that down, let's talk about Safe Side Barbecue, Judd.
Let's talk about the best barbecue food truck in the West Metro. That's right, Safe Side Barbecue, absolutely fantastic. Let's talk about fresh brisket, cut to order. Are you kidding me? Absolutely delicious, 100% wood-fired smoking for juicy, savory, tender meat. They do not use electric smokers or ovens. What they do is they make everything homemade. Bread is made to order for sandwiches. I'm telling you, this stuff is fantastic. Find them at safesidebbq.com and on Facebook for where the truck will be next. Now, also, pro tip here. If you go to where the truck is, you do not need to buy something from the site that they're on. You can go to the truck, you can buy something. I think you can just take it home. But yeah, brisket. We're talking brisket. Who doesn't love brisket? Safe Side BBQ. Again, where they're going to be, it's as easy as going to safesidebbq.com.
Of the 3 guys that struggled yesterday in Naz, Dante, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Judd, which one of those 3 you think has the bounce back? Which one are you more confident in bouncing back and having a productive game when these 2 play again on Thursday?
Naz Reid. Unfortunately, now I'm to the point, and I like Dante, but I'm to the point with Dante and Naz where I'm not convinced I'm going to see it until we actually do, because their playoffs have just been so spotty and not great. I think if there's one guy that's going to bounce back strong, Naz Reid, and he has to. That silky smooth 3. Like, part of what makes him so good is this. When he comes in for Gobert, he gives the defense a totally different look, right? Gobert's in the paint. He's down low. Naz, perimeter guy. Naz looked like, I don't know. He looked like the moment the game might have gotten a little bit too big for him last night, which, it's game 1, Western Conference Finals. I I could see him bouncing back. I think he has to. And the Thunder have a great defense. So, like, this is not for debate. They have a great defense. But that is not licensed to not adjust things and not to improve things. So I really do, Dex, as a whole, expect a bounce back. I'm not assuring a win, but I am assuring a performance. The Wolves were on to something in the first half. They turned the ball over too much, but they were up by 4, and they weren't playing great. So they then gave up 70 points and were outscored by 30 in the second half. I think the Wolves bounce back, and I think Naz Reid has a nice game on Thursday night.
I saw this note from Jace Frederick at the Pioneer Press, who covers the Wolves, and it's an interesting one because we made a big deal about, hey, they're missing these threes. It won't happen again. And more likely, it doesn't happen again, and these should start falling. So Jace tweeted out this fact that opponent shooting against OKC this year on open threes, opponents are cashing just 33% of open threes. That's the 7th worst figure in the NBA. And on wide open threes, which I guess that's a different classification than just open threes, opponents are hitting just 37.2%. That's the worst figure, worst conversion rate. So OKC actually allows you to like basically take these shots because their defense is just so hounding, right? So it can't get you in a rhythm.
They pack it in.
Yep. So they force their opponents, go ahead.
Right.
Take the three. Take this catch and shoot three, or take this wide open three. Right. It's not going to be a problem. You're going to miss it. So I think we probably should maybe not rescind, but keep that fact in mind that the Thunder allow their opponents to do this because they cause you so much chaos on offense that you just think pass the ball to the open guy, hit the shot. Yeah, I'd like to think more times than not it goes in and not has the problem it did in game 1. But that is a thing that the Thunder elect. That wasn't just a random one-off that the Wolves missed their open threes yesterday.
Right. No, they definitely encourage that. But I guess my comeback is their open threes. Like, you have to knock them down. If you don't, you're done. So, and I do expect that the Wolves will improve there. I get the stat. It's a great stat. And that it speaks to how the Thunder's formula works. And it works very well. They won they lost 14 bleeping games. But that being said, the Wolves have to knock these shots down. They are there. They have to come back with a formula to do so. And I also think, though, that if you're going to win this series, you are going to have to beat them at their own game, and you are going to have to score inside. I mean, the points in the paint last night were ridiculous. And Gobert is going to have an impact there. You're going to have to, Ant is going to have to drive. I honestly think, like, I don't know that you put this out there publicly, but I honestly think, like, this is where the cat and mouse game, if you're Finch with SGA comes in, you've got to be on the officials about Ant. Like, he's got to drive. You can't, just because the Thunder is good at denying you the rim doesn't mean that you can accept that. And if he's going to be good at driving, he needs to get the same calls. And these cat and mouse games are ongoing constantly. Like, some of it gets out. At times, Finch definitely says into a microphone that the fouls aren't blah, blah, blah. He did not. He made very sure not to say that after game 1. And I think we talked about this in the Golden State series. I guarantee you the Wolves are sending in clips today. Like, just because you don't complain publicly, you can send in clips. I guarantee you. And I think part of the argument, and the Wolves are right, if this is it, is if their guy's going to get this, our guy has to as well. And the league will talk to officials, and we might never find any of this out. But yes, OKC definitely wants to make you comfortable to think, oh, we'll shoot this. You've got to make them pay, but 2, you also have to own the paint at times. Like, it's not, to me, you can't just concede that, because if you have another off night and this is what you do, well, we've seen this play before and it wasn't pretty.
How much do you think the Wolves also have to kind of play fire with fire? And if Shai is going to drive and get these whistles, I know he gets more the benefit of the doubt than he does just drawing all these fouls necessarily. How much should the Wolves consider with Ant should be driving more. Like Ant barely,
Right,
I think he only had 7 drive. Like
that's
Ant
what
should
I'm saying.
also do the same thing. You should be driving to the basket to just keep playing the fire with the fire.
That's what I'm saying. That's where you have to tell the league we expect these calls, and Ant needs to. You can't concede the paint. Like you can't say, well, it's the Western Conference Finals. Guess we're going to just shoot threes. The Wolves can shoot threes. They need to knock them down, but you can't just give OKC. I mean, they're going to pack the paint. They're going to. So what you need to do is you need to find a way to drive and either score and or get calls. And I know that sounds simple and it's not, but yeah, there's a lot of, I believe that coming off of what we saw last night especially in the final 2 quarters, there's a lot of adjustments to be made. And there's a lot of politics to privately play today. Because the formula that OKC won by last night, to me, you can't just say, well, that's what they do. You need to say, how are we going to combat it? And to Finch's credit, he's good at that, I think. Like, I do wonder now that we sort of have a tone, because the regular season games don't set the tone. Now that we have a tone of the series, I wonder what the Wolves' response is going to be, because I fully expect one on Thursday. And I think that there still remains, this might sound crazy right now, a very good chance this comes back 1-1.
Yeah. Is this the classic must-win game 2, even though it's not a must-win situation? Hockey loves to do this.
Yeah, I know. And here's the thing. Ordinarily, I would be like, oh yeah, no question about it. And I feel that way, but here's the flaw in my ointment. The Nuggets came back to Target Center last year, having lost both home games.
Yeah.
The Nuggets then were on the precipice of, I believe, if they could win Game 6 here, closing the series out, right?
Right. Yep.
Wolves took it to 7. So I would love to say, oh my God, if they don't win, the season's done. Playoff basketball, I'm delighted to say this now, is sort of weird. It didn't used to be. It now is. So, no, I don't think its season is over. I actually think it's the eye test more, Dex. I think if the eye test is a repeat of Game 1, it's done. I think if it is a hard contested game in which the Wolves can establish some things, I give it more hope. It more hope. Hey, last comment though. ESPN last night, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Forget the commentators for a second. What is up? And they have the same problem on hockey with getting the sound right.
Yeah, as someone who obviously I know you're delivering your hot takes and you've been doing this for a long time. I always have ridiculous standards when it comes to good audio. It doesn't.
Because you do that, or you've done.
I try my absolute best. I certainly don't bat 1,000, but having bad audio is the absolute worst.
It feels like with what you're talking about, it would be like if you potted us up and down as we talked. You
mean like this? Like if I just continue to talk you like that?
Yeah, exactly. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I understand at times, like I don't have this huge thing with, because at times it'll be too loud or too low. And if it's too low, I'm not like, but with, it feels like, and I don't know why, ESPN sound is continually fluctuating. And then they do the thing where it's on a slight delay. So if a player swears, they like just take it all the way down. Can we just let the
swearing happen?
Well, and it's after hours on cable. I do not think the FCC will fine you. If it's ABC, I don't know. It used to be huge fines. I don't think it is now. But if it is after hours, if it's a night game on cable and an F-bomb is dropped, just let it go. Because it's not, but you're disrupting the telecast.
Agreed.
Like, that's my thing. It's not like, if they could find a way to take it out and the sound remained, I'd be fine. But they literally pot it down. They push a button like in our old days on the air, on radio. If there was a swear word, you'd hit the red button. That's what they're doing. Anyway, get your sound right. Like, we could talk about Doris Burke and Jefferson. I like Breen a lot. I think he's good, but
bang.
But anyway, yeah, get your sound right on hockey. Get your sound right on basketball. And for the love of God, pick a sound level and leave it.
Judd Zolgad at Substack.com, by the way. I'm sure there'll be
I'll
some
be writing about
there.
this.
Yeah, I know you will.
I'll be writing about this because it's gotten me. I want to enjoy watching game.
I got my receipt for supporting Judd Zolgad in my email the other day.
Did you? Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, judzolgad.substack.com. If you also would like to read my ramblings, musings, and whatever else, like my buddy Dex. Thanks, Dex.
Hey, we had a Flagrant Howls recap from game 1 with Kyle, Phil, and Judd from yesterday, so go check that out. Phil out the rest of the week too, by the way. He's enjoying some vacation time. He's enjoying the 40th birthday celebration. So Judd, myself, and Kyle will still break down things for games 2 and 3. Game 2 tomorrow in OKC, and then back here on Saturday. So there'll still be plenty of Flagrant Howls content. Don't worry, they'll be coming at you a lot. So Flagrant Howls. This is a Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.